On today's show, how did Jimmy Butler send home the number 1 seed Bucks? What happened to the Cavs? The Knicks did. That's what happened to the Cavs. We'll tell you how. And are the Kings done? Talk about that and more on today's Locked On NBA. Let's go.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome. You're locked on to the NBA. My name is Nick Angstadt, host of the Locked On Mavericks podcast. Thanks for being part of the show, making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. Remember, Locked On NBA is free and available on all podcast platforms, including YouTube, where you can watch the show. We're live right now after these games tonight that were absolutely incredible. Joining me, as always, on a Thursday, host of Locked On Bulls. What you got for me, Pat the Designer?
I will never forgive Gar Forman and John Paxson for so many things. But this is close to the top of the list. We can't build a team around Jimmy Butler. We don't know how to build a team around Jimmy Butler.
The 8th seed in the East beat the number 1 overall seed in the NBA, and I can't forgive the Mavericks for just not making the playoffs in general. So hey, we're two hosts with grievances about our teams, but we'll talk about how the Grizzlies dug deep, got a win against the Lakers. We'll talk about how the Warriors finally got a road win. And it was in the playoffs, and is maybe their most important one. Are the Kings done now? We'll talk about that. We'll talk about how the Knicks eliminated the Cavs in 5 games, like convincingly on that. And then let's start here, Pat, because, oh my God, Jimmy Butler was him. He was all of him in this series and in this game. Just absolutely beat the Milwaukee Bucks at their own game. Now, history will not remember this series as, it'll just look back and say, oh, Giannis was out and he was injured and blah, blah, blah. How will you remember this series? What's the first thing that'll come back into your mind when we look back at this 8-1? It hasn't happened many times. It definitely never happened to the Dallas Mavericks, but it hasn't happened many times. But how will you look back on this series and how the Heat pulled this off?
I will look back on this series. Remember that kid in game 1 this year in Sacramento versus the Warriors that looked at Steph and just on your top, Hey, Drew Holiday, 96 points in 2 games on your top. Oh my God. Hey, Bud, how about you make a little bit of an adjustment, my boy?
That's tough.
96 points in 2 games on your top.
To take them out too.
I will remember this in so many different ways. I will remember all of the ineptitudes that Bud has done over the years, and it finally showed in a first-round series where even though Giannis came back, and we could say Giannis was injured and all of that, Giannis, while he was missing free throws tonight, what was that stat line there, Nick? 38, 20, and 3?
10 of 23 from the free throw line. Yeesh.
I mean, like, I'll remember this as the Jimmy Butler first round series. Shout out to Jimmy Butler out there, man.
He was absolutely incredible. And just his shot making, and like Eric Spoelstra said something after the last game. He's one of the most intelligent players that he's ever played, that he's ever coached.
Yeah.
And played for the Miami Heat. And it's true. Like, you just see the way that he picks his spots and decides where to go and where to be on the floor. Like, his intelligence doesn't get talked about enough because we just talk about that dog in him. You just talk about how strong he is. You talk about how he's built for the moment. But how do you get built for the moment? How do you step up in these moments? You have to be smart. You have to be intelligent. You have to know where to go, where to be at certain points in the game, in the series, and all that. 17 of 33 from the floor. Incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a player that is one of the most confounding. I've seen people on Twitter a lot recently start to push back and be like, okay, how are we going to look back? How are we going to explain to like our kids that are just going to look at Basketball Reference or whatever? Just look back at that and say, now hold on. Who was this guy that cooked the Bucks in this first round? They're going to look back at Jimmy Butler and be like, this guy was just like normal in the regular season and then just turned it up to 11 in the playoffs. And it's wild to see a player like this. I don't know if we've seen one like this necessarily in a long time. He was absolutely incredible. Like you said, being guarded by Drew Holiday, too, one of the best, voted by the players, the best defender in the NBA, or the
Now,
best perimeter defender in the NBA.
I'll ask you this, right? He was voted, I believe, best two-way player in the NBA, right? Jimmy take that personally? Jimmy is arguably the best two-way player in the NBA, even with this season.
They're out of the playoffs because of a Jimmy Butler vendetta on the Athletics poll of anonymous 100 players in the NBA.
And he took that personally. I can't wait for it.
I took that personally. And he did not meet the criteria. He's got those Chicago roots. Buckets. And hey, there is a Jordan connection. I don't know if we want to go too deep in the rabbit hole. There is a Jordan connection. Possibly.
Hey, listen, we gotta go touch that on this episode. Hey, him and Anthony Edwards. Hey, Mike, what was going on in the 80s and 90s, my boy? I'm just saying. Jimmy Butler would have fade. Anthony Edwards would have fade. It looks weird. Just saying.
The Heat, incredible. There's more time we can talk about the Heat as they go to now face the New York Knicks, which is just a wild second round series I didn't think we would have. Let's turn to the Bucks, who now we have to eulogize because they're done.
Yeah.
First of all, why didn't Bud call any timeouts at any given point towards the end of the last couple seconds of that game? They finished the game with two. It was an overtime game. They finished with 2 timeouts.
Yeah.
How do you not call a timeout when Grayson Ted Cruz Allen is at the top of the key, like has no idea what he's doing with the ball at the top of the key, and he's like holding the ball and he's looking over at the sidelines and they're like, you got to go, and doesn't even get a shot up. Like, how do you not call timeouts there?
Run that back at me. What's his name? What's his name?
Ted Cruz Jr.
Grayson Ted Cruz. Emphasis on the grace, son.
He looks exactly like
emphasis on the grace, son. Great. You know what I mean? Listen, I've said this for years. I've said this since pretty much probably a year after Bud was in Milwaukee. I kind of felt this way about Bud in Atlanta. Bud is the same as we talk about what Nick Nurse has been. Bud is the same as what we talk about what Billy Donovan has been. He's the same as what we talk about what most coaches in the NBA are, except I would put him below all of them. Bud, to me, is a coach that benefited from having a superstar level player on his team, and the perfect set of circumstances went his way the year that they won the NBA championship. Bud is not the reason. Bud is the Joe Madden, for Cubs fans out there, of this team. You can do almost everything in your power to mess things up, but there are times where Giannis and Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton are so good that they make you look special. You are not special in the NBA. You should not be coaching one of the best players in the NBA. You should be coaching the Orlando Magic. Never mind. I don't want you to mess up Paolo.
I'll take Jamal Mosley's job.
I don't want you to mess up Paolo. He's not good. He has done nothing to benefit Giannis in any way. Giannis has got what he's gained on his own.
Is Mike Budenholzer the coach of the Milwaukee Bucks next year?
Mike Budenholzer shouldn't have been the coach of the Milwaukee Bucks the second Jimmy Butler got that rebound. Mike Budenholzer should have been gone last year, but circumstances keep kind of working in his favor, where it's tough to fire somebody when it's like, well, I mean, they are winning.
The Bucks started this fourth quarter in this game with a 16-point lead. They lost a 16-point lead, went to overtime, and then lost the game. Their offense scored 16 points in the fourth quarter, 8 points in overtime. And I think in overtime, 4 free throws. They were playing the foul game. They hit 2 field goals in this. Their offense was awful. I wrote in the fourth quarter, I stopped taking notes and I just wrote, Milwaukee's offense is run through a magic 8-ball. They basically just shake it up and are like, all right, Giannis, you do a thing. Middleton, you do a thing. We'll try a thing with Brook Lopez. It's just like, didn't seem to have the right flow. And this is the thing we've been talking about Bucks all season, is that they didn't have a good enough offense. And Matt Moore, Locked On NBA host, Locked On Nuggets, tweeted, we can't learn anything from the regular season, because he was just exasperated. We can't learn anything from the regular season because the Knicks had an incredible defense against the Cavs. The Miami Heat were incredible on defense against the Bucks. They were incredible on had an incredible offense against this Bucks defense. It's like, you just can't learn anything in the regular season. I'll say we did learn one thing. The Bucks' weakness that they had all season was exposed in the same way that it had been talked about all season is, hey, when are they going to be able to score buckets? We thought their defense would be there. They got 3 of the top 5 to 6 defensive players in the NBA didn't know what to do with Jimmy Butler at all.
I'll say this
series.
I'll say this as well. We can't absolve the players at the end of that game. Giannis throws the ball away. That's a mental hurdle right there. That when that ball got thrown to Giannis, what was Giannis doing? He was scared they were going to foul him because I had been shooting free throws all day. Now, I don't know if that goes into the injury. Maybe he's a little off, right? He looked fine up and under the bucket, yamming down on people's heads, but maybe there was something to play into that. But he instantly tries to get rid of the ball off of that tip pass, or off of that jump ball, I should say. It almost goes out of bounds. Chris Middleton has to save it to Drew Holiday, which you would think, hey, Drew's good to knock down a couple of free throws. Maybe not. And even the 2 timeouts at the end, hey, it's okay for players to call timeouts in those situations if you're the guy. That's okay.
It was a failure of leadership on several different levels. I'll be fascinated to see if Coach Bud returns next year. The players get some blame as well. They have no bench. Like, they had no bench, and their depth. We talked about them being one of the deepest teams in the NBA, just the top 4, but then nobody else stepped up for them. You need at least 1 or 2 to step up, especially if the Heat are going to have guys like Gabe Vincent go off, guys like, Kevin Love give him 5 threes in a game. Like, when sometimes he doesn't even play for them. Coming up, let's get into the Knicks. Bing bong. The Knicks are not dead. They're alive. They're still in the playoffs, going on to the second round for the first time since 2013 when Carmelo did it. How did they oust the Cavs? Talk about that coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about eBay Motors. eBay Motors is the right place for you to check out the parts that you need for a championship team that's not the Bucks this season. It's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure every part you need fits right the first time around. Just add your ride to My Garage. Look for the green check arrow so that you know the part will fit, or you get your money back. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game. Giannis did not have enough confidence at the free throw line. You can have a Jimmy Butler, Himmy Butler level confidence in eBay Motors. With over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. eBay Motors, eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. All right, Pat. Thanks, everybody, for joining us on Locked On NBA, listening to the show, making us part of your day. We appreciate each and every one of you. We have a Locked On show for every single NBA team across the entire NBA league. We also have fantasy and draft and all that. Go listen to Kane Pittman, Locked On Bucks. I'm fascinated to see what Kane Pittman says about his Milwaukee Bucks. And you can go listen to Wes Goldberg and David Ramil on the Miami Heat. Let's talk about the Knicks versus the Cavs, though. The Knicks take down the Cavs in like a way that I just did not expect going into this series. If you told me before this series started, and I was told before this series started, Julius Randle was not fully cleared to play and will be limited by injury and will also go down with another injury later in this series, not be very effective throughout this series. He didn't contribute at a high level. He did some stuff, scored some points, had double-digit points a couple times, but was not like an all-NBA, all-star level player in this series. If you had told me that, and also told me that Jalen Brunson would be the best guard and Mitchell Robinson would be the best big in this series, I would not have believed you. I said, what multiverse are you coming at me from? Because that will not happen in this series, but it did.
What we saw in this series was something that we have not seen in the NBA for many, many years.
Tell me, Pat.
Ladies and gentlemen, Thibs is back. That was a Thibs coached team to a T. When you're literally sitting there looking at just like, all right, well, Randall's going to be hurt. What's that really mean? Is he playing? Of course he's playing. It's Tom Thibodeau. Josh Hart's joking about, hey, coach,
you can play me
49 minutes if you didn't. They're like, listen, dog, that's not the dude you want to joke about this with. What did Josh Hart play tonight? Hold on. 46 minutes for Josh Hart tonight. I'm just saying.
Luol Deng from his basketball grave is like, Josh, don't do it.
Don't do it. Well, that's not all on time. The doctors did that. But still, man, I mean, this looked like a Tom Thibodeau coach team. And you know what? Here's the biggest thing that they did to attack the Cleveland team to me. What was the one thing that we said this team had the advantage on all season? what happened to the bigs?
Yeah.
I haven't felt Evan Mobley's impact. Now, I will say this. I haven't felt Evan Mobley's impact for a good chunk of this season. Again, that goes back to my questions about what does Donovan Mitchell going to the Cavs really do for some of these players' futures that were rising up, right? Donovan Mitchell played out of his mind this season. Somebody's got to take a step back. That was Evan Mobley this season. And you saw it here in the playoffs. What did he really have impact-wise? And Jared Allen's just the defender against Tom Thibodeau. He was just the guy out there to try and block shots. He wasn't able to get himself involved in the game offensively. I thought that it was a masterful defensive performance. And when you got a guy like Jalen Brunson who can get hot at any moment, RJ Barrett found his rhythm a little bit in this series. Those are the things that get you on to the next round.
Yeah. To me, I don't even start with the bigs. Like the bigs was huge. Like I guess maybe it's more surprising that Mitchell Robinson outplayed Jared Allen and Evan Mobley.
Yeah,
Evan
13
Mobley
and 18.
didn't really like figure out his role in this series. It felt like didn't really seem like him and Jared Allen. It felt like this is what I wrote down in the middle of the game is that the Cavs look small and slight against this Knicks team that were just like powerful. They had some big wings out there. Like Josh Hart was getting a ton of boards. He's one of the best rebounding guards in the NBA. The Knicks were just way more physical with them, pushing those guys around. Mitchell Robinson looked huge in this series and was huge, like had huge rebounding games in this series for a guy that has been upset with his role in the past. He played his role that he needed to in this series really, really well. 5.8 offensive rebounds per game in this. How many defensive rebounds did Evan Mobley and Jared Allen have in this? Jared Allen, 7.4 defensive rebounds a game. Mitchell Robinson at 5.8 offensive rebounds a game.
Yeah.
Like that's just not going to get you to win.
Yeah.
The other, so the bigs were one thing. That was probably the most surprising thing. But the other thing, Patrick, imagine you're Donovan Mitchell.
I hate when y'all call me Patrick.
Imagine you're Donovan Mitchell. You're in the West. You're with the Utah Jazz. You have the rise with the Utah Jazz. And you're like, oh, this West, it's just so hard to get out of. And then all of a sudden it comes crashing down. Dallas Mavericks and Jalen Brunson without Luka Doncic in the first game take you down, and then eventually Luka comes back and you lose the series in the first round.
Oh boy,
you change zip codes. You get traded all the way to the East Coast. You get an all-star guard next to you, Darius Garland, been to the All-Star game.
Yeah,
you get another Defensive Player of the Year candidate in Evan Mobley that's in your front court, plus Jared Allen. Like you've got this setup all of a sudden. You're the guy. You're taking this next level. You're getting MVP votes from people, not first place, but you got MVP votes from people this season. And you get put out in the first round by Jalen Brunson again. Jalen Brunson thoroughly outplayed Donovan Mitchell in this series. And that was surprising to me, but it shouldn't have been because he did it last year. He did it last year for the Dallas Mavericks, not just the first couple of games, but for that whole series. He outplayed Donovan Mitchell. We talked about that on Locked On Mavs all the time. And to see Donovan Mitchell, who has been like a great playoff performer in the past, him and Jamal Murray had that back and forth where they were both scoring like 50-point games back and forth. To see him get outplayed so thoroughly by Jalen Brunson, and to see, honestly, like I'm just going to throw my hands up, like the basketball magic that is Jalen Brunson go from the immaculate vibes he had with the Mavericks last year to now that awful like dog poop, I can't say the word I want to say, vibes of the Mavericks this year to the awful vibes the Knicks had last year with Julius Randle and all that kind of stuff with the fans coming at him to the incredible vibes that the Knicks have this year. Didn't even change their coach. Julius Randle's still on the team. All that stuff didn't change a whole lot. It's just Jalen Brunson. And to see that magic and to see that become fulfilled in the Knicks winning this series for the first time in a long time, like love that for him. He's an incredible basketball player and has like the it thing that we don't talk about enough with players. Is like, I guess Jimmy Butler and Brunson have this. They have like this it thing that when you get in a moment in a tough, tight NBA game, you want somebody like that with you and to trust and to be with you. And they both have it and they're both moving on.
Players want to go to a winning culture. Some players
He went to the Knicks.
Here's the thing though.
He brought the culture with him.
Some players are the winning culture. Jimmy Butler is the winning culture. Jalen Brunson is proving that he is the winning culture. When he shows up in your building, your vibes change, your team changes, and especially right. And here's the thing about good teams: it's that we think of teams right in talent. You got to be talented. You have to have this guy and this guy, and these guys should work together because they're all good. But we can see now in the NBA, right? Like, listen, I cover the Bulls. The Bulls aren't short of talent. Do they all like each other? They say they do. I hope they do. But it doesn't look like what the Knicks got going on. Did you see the excitement? Remember the excitement in Jalen Brunson's heart when Josh Hart got traded to his team? How happy he was that his brother was coming back with him. That's the vibes that build winning cultures. And the Knicks got it. I got to give them credit, man. Shout out to Thibs for winning. I hate that it's with the Knicks. I'm not gonna lie. I do hate that it's with the Knicks, but I love the vibes.
Incredible, immaculate vibes from the New York Knicks coming up. Let's get into the Golden State Warriors get a win on the road against the Kings. Are the Kings done? And then we'll talk about the Lakers and the Grizzlies. Talk about that coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about something that'll help you save money. We're always throwing something at money. You got kids, right? Like you got tons of kids.
Everybody's always just giving me extra kids. I'm not Shaq.
One time I said he's got some kids and he's got one kid. So
I got one kid.
You're buying school supplies. You got house projects. You got a studio to run, all that kind of stuff. It's time to stop spending your money, your hard-earned money, without getting anything in return. That's where Ibotta comes in. It's IBOTTA. You can earn cash back on every shopping trip. Ibotta gives you cash back on hundreds of grocery items, produce, personal care, pantry goods, all that kind of stuff. Ibotta users earn $120 a year in real cash back. Who couldn't use $120 a year? So go check it out. See what's available for you. Ibotta, IBOTTA. Right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 for free just by trying it. Use the code LOCKED, LOCKED, when you register. Go to the App Store or Google Play Store, download the free Ibotta app, and use code LOCKED, IBOTTA, in the Google Play or App Store. Again, use the code LOCKED ON. All right, Pat, thanks everybody for hanging out with us on Locked On NBA and being live with us on YouTube. We appreciate each and every one of you in the chat and all that. We have a Locked On show for every single NBA team, also NFL and MLB and NHL and all that. So go check it out. Guys, let's talk about the Golden State Warriors get a win against the Kings. And this one, to me, you start with just the big difference was their experience. The Kings were like, they won the first two games. You're feeling good about it. Draymond gets suspended for the third game. Feeling confident about that one. The Warriors think and feel, all right, we need this one. They win that game. They win game 4. They're back they're back at home. The Kings are now. And they were tough with them, tight with them this whole time. Fox has this injury, hits his first couple of threes. You're thinking, okay, he's doing okay. Finishes the game 9 of 25. Just couldn't get enough going. And the Warriors figure out a way with all their guys basically just doing what they do, despite, like, besides Draymond Green coming with 21 points off the bench, like everybody else did their jobs basically. Yeah. It felt like a veteran team taking on a inexperienced team in a playoff series in a really tight game, and the veteran team coming out on top.
I think when I looked at this game today, I looked at just two wrecking balls going at each other, and the two pieces that are at the top of that, De'Aaron Fox, Stephen Curry. It finally got a little bit right, like, hey, you're not getting better than me. I'm not getting better than you. And Stephen Curry turned back into Stephen Curry. Yeah. The end of that game, Stephen Curry said, listen, De'Aaron, you've had an amazing season. You've been phenomenal, my
love
boy.
Your work.
I love your work. I am familiar with it. You light the beam. Listen, you guys keep that up. That is amazing. Do you know who I am? Do you know how many rings that I've won? Do you know what I can do? And it looked like Stephen Curry literally put this game on ice. Not to say he did it single-handedly, right? Like we saw some of the games last season versus the Warriors, because he didn't have to. But when you need your superstar to step up, Stephen Curry answers that call. And I think that's what we saw tonight for the most part. I still thought the Sacramento Kings, even in this playoff series, I've said this, the Sacramento Kings have found enough defense for them to be a legitimate threat in the West. Yeah. It's not like the Kings literally, like we've covered many Kings games here on Wednesdays. There's no defense played all regular season. In this postseason, I don't know what the scheme has been, what the change has been, what the change in mindset has been, but they have found enough defense that if they can find a way through the Warriors, they are a legit scare in the West. But this Warriors team is feeling the confidence again, and the road win might be the nail in the coffin.
And you look at Steph Curry, like he didn't even hit threes. Like it's Steph. If this is the evolution of Steph Curry we've seen in front of our eyes, like he hit 4 mid-range shots. He hit stuff at the rim. Like he was getting to the rim, and it seemed like the Warriors finally figured out, okay, yeah, we can score at the rim. 60 points in the paint.
Yeah.
In this, that's not a Warriors stat, right?
No.
Like 60 points in the paint. We're not looking at Draymond and Curry and Clay to score in the paint. That's not something we've seen from the Warriors in past iterations of this team. But now we can from this team because Kevon Looney's cleaning the glass. Windex, I think they call him. He's cleaning he's cleaning the glass.
What did he end up with? Was it 4 and 22?
4 points, 2 of 4 from the field, 0 free throw attempts, 7 assists, 22 rebounds.
50%
steals,
50% shooting though.
50% from the field. Yeah, 27 offensive rebounds. Just an incredible line from him. And they just had each guy do their thing and just and play exactly the way they needed to. They didn't really get a lot of scoring from Jordan Poole, but they got it from Draymond in like in ways that he could just take advantage of situations.
Yeah.
Andrew Wiggins shot well in this game. They got 20 points from him. He looks like he hasn't missed any time at all, and he's just back in the fold. And so, yeah, the Warriors now take the advantage in this one. Do you think the Kings are done?
I think the Warriors go back to Golden State with the confidence of Golden State, right? Like that's been the weirdest stat. This season has been weird in general. The Warriors has to be the weirdest stat, right? 35 wins at home. Right, like that is just an absurd game plan this season. Well, I don't know if it was the game plan, but an absurd game play this season. Right, hey, we're gonna lose all the games on the road that we can. We're gonna win as many as we can at home. But I think they go back into Oracle Arena with that confidence. Right, they go back in there with the mindset of, hey, we're Golden State. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I think this game was the one that scared me the most because I was like, look. That looks like the Golden State Warriors that won the NBA championship. That didn't look like the Golden State Warriors that are struggling on the road. That looks like the NBA champion Golden State Warriors, Draymond, doing everything that he could to keep guys involved and understanding the moment. That's what I don't think people understand, right? Everybody, it's easy to crack jokes about Draymond, easy to crack jokes about, him getting the text and all of that. And listen, you just stop stomping on people. You know what I mean? Stop going for people below the belt. It is what it. I don't know. He's got a compulsion. But he has no problems taking a step back for the team to succeed. Not every team has that player, and that's why this team is that dangerous.
Absolutely. And so we'll see what happens in game 6 with them. I think the Kings have one more in them. I think they'll force 7, and we'll see what happens. But winning a game in I almost called it Oracle. I
did call it Oracle.
Is that what you call? Maybe that's
I called it Oracle.
in the Golden State War. I went there last year. What is it called? Oh my gosh, that's Golden One is the Kings and Chase Center. It's
Chase Center. That's what it is now.
Winning.
How dare we grow up in the time that we did?
Winning. Capitalism strikes again. Oracle is a business too. Anyway, let's move on to the Lakers versus the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies get a win. They dig deep. They get a win in this one. And I think this one starts with a couple of changes, a couple of things we saw. Late in the first quarter, Taylor Jenkins, head coach of the Grizzlies, went to a Ja Morant, Tyus Jones, Desmond Bane, Luke Kennard. That's 4 guards basically playing there. And then Jaren Jackson Jr. They went on a run because LeBron was at the 5. They've had all kinds of issues this series with Anthony Davis. He's just been huge on the glass. He's back and forth been aggressive as far as scoring, but on the glass and defending, he's had over 20 blocks in this series. He's had a ton of boards. They've had a hard time with him. And so as soon as he went out, they went really small, put Kennard in there, finally got some space and some shooting, and finally went on a run. And I think that's where it starts from them. They also had another run, their huge run at the end of the third quarter. Basically the same thing. Anthony Davis is off the court. They go kind of small with some of these guys. Luke Kennard played that stretch. Desmond Bane played a lot in that stretch. And you get like a plus 24 in that stretch at the end of the third quarter. Yeah. The thing about that, though, is that Luke Kennard went out in this game in the fourth quarter, at the beginning of the fourth quarter with a shoulder injury. They said it's a stinger, so we'll see what happens with them. But what did the Grizzlies find with that and then their win today?
You found the other guy. Right, that's what we've been asking for in this series. Ja misses a couple of games, right, with the hand. you're not gonna be. I thought he might play through it, even the first game that he was gonna miss, right? But Ja came back and didn't miss a beat. He was still Ja. The question this entire series has been, okay, where are your others at? Where's Desmond Bane at on a consistent basis? Where's Jaren? Where's this grouping that we fell in love with here, right? And it just there hasn't been a ton of help for Ja. Ja's been listen. First off, quick PSA: Ja, stop falling, please. As somebody who's watched
too high in the
career,
air. He's too high in the air. He can't not fall.
Please stop, bro. Like it scares the living H out of me, bro. Like, my God, I'm like, bro, like I don't want to see you get hurt. I want to see you have a 20-year-long career, and you hitting the ground like that is not the answer.
That brought me back to Derrick Rose and others with landing mechanics. Like,
well, I mean, like, and his is scary because at least like Derrick's is like, I was gonna take the bump and I'll land awkwardly on the one leg, which isn't healthy for you, right? But all right, his is like, I'm gonna just go over the top of Brian and like try and fall on my shoulder so I don't break my neck. Like, I don't know, man. Ja, I want to see you play for a long
time. Second quarter, 7 minutes left. Ja Morant and one over LeBron James and one alley-oop over LeBron James. I mean, just he's flying in with reckless. But I think it honestly, it gives the Grizzlies confidence when he flies around like that because it fires up that crowd, fires up the team. Him doing the too small against D'Angelo Russell, like stuff like that. I mean, it's just the swagger that they run with, that they've succeeded with this season.
It just doesn't give me confidence in his career.
No,
you know what I mean? Like, that's
we're talking about today.
I'm worried about today.
We're talking about today. The Grizzlies get another win. They find that small ball lineup. We'll see what happens with Kennard, but they finally found some spacing. And against the Lakers, like they don't have this great offense. Like they have won with defense, and then a couple guys get hot. It's Rui, it's Reeves, it's LeBron or Anthony Davis. One of those guys get hot. And they rely on their defense. They rely on controlling the glass, and then they get just enough from their offensive guys to win. The Grizzlies have had this great defense, can't find any offense, and their half-court offense has been awful all season. And so that's what they've really struggled with. Now the question becomes for the Lakers: does LeBron James have one more in him? Because he didn't have it tonight. You could tell 1 day rest. He didn't have it in this one. They have 1 day rest before Game 6. Do the Lakers and LeBron James specifically have one more win in them?
I think that they do. I think, listen, LeBron said it today, right? He said, I played like you know what. It wasn't a good game. You know what. I played like, you got to hit the button, don't worry about it. But I don't have it. Not that one. And played like, there we go. We got to it eventually. No, but I do think they have one more win. Here's the hard part. This is what I said about the Grizzlies, right? You played hard all year. You fought as hard as you could, and your prize was LeBron and Anthony Davis with a team that actually was starting to go on a run. Now, can the Grizzlies come back and actually do something here? If Ja's able to continue to playing at the level he does, Jaren Jackson's able to stay in the game for the entire game, that's a nice little treat to get there. And Desmond Bane keeps cooking. Yeah, they can, because the Grizzlies are one of the few teams in the NBA we talked about in the West that played defense. So I think that the Grizzlies can still win this, but I mean, LeBron and AD is your gift for being second in the West. That's a tough, I got to win. And they got one more game to go. That's a tough ask.
This has been a weird NBA season where the gift for the Bucks for being number one in the NBA overall was Jimmy Butler, and the Heat and the Grizzlies for being number two.
You probably felt good about that though, all until like today.
I mean, that Heat team, we talked about them a couple weeks ago, and I was like, are they a serious franchise? Because it felt like every other game they were a serious franchise or an unserious franchise. Yeah. They ended up just played like 4 serious games in this one, which was wild.
That's all it took.
The Lakers have one more in them. I mean, you got a lot from those small lineups. I think the Lakers will figure a couple of things out. I think Darvin Ham will make a couple adjustments, and you just got to play Anthony Davis more. Like it's kind of where it comes down to in this one. He played 35 minutes. He was a +6. The Lakers bench was like all minus double digits. Beasley, Troy Brown, Dennis Schroeder, Rui Hachimura, like they just got destroyed in those bench lineups. You got to change something up just a little bit and not have those bench guys just be exposed out there and get destroyed with LeBron at the 5. But if LeBron's a little bit better, then this is a different story we're talking about, because then they don't get destroyed as much in those moments. So I think the Lakers have one more win in them. They got 2 more chances. We'll see. But this Grizzlies team is making it entertaining. We love to see it. I had my last question I wrote down. We'll do it quick. Should Dylan Brooks play again?
Bro, listen.
It's just not his year, man.
I'm going to be honest with you, right? I think Dylan Brooks might be done in the NBA.
Stop.
I don't know if there's many organizations that are going to put up with a lot of what he's doing. I don't think he's that good of a player. He's not that good of a defender. He's not that good of a shooter. He's not that good of a facilitator. He's like, at least right when as much as we can talk about what Pat Bev was always talked about as a top defender in the NBA. Right? Like there was always something that you could point to with those dirty guys, right? Draymond Green is a defensive player of the year. Does he kick you below the belt every now and then? Yeah, but he wins defensive player of the year. What is Dylan Brooks bringing to the table?
Dylan Brooks was named by Locked On Host. Did you vote for him? I voted for him. Second team all defense. He got 6 first team votes, 15 second team votes from guys. He's on an all defense team according to our Locked On Hosts. We had 39 voters that watch the NBA every night.
Name somebody he's locked down.
Well, mostly games I've watched is against Luka, and he does not lock him down. That is for sure.
No, you know what I mean? Like, name me somebody who he's locked down. Like, listen, Draymond. I've seen Draymond.
He's locking himself down right now. Is what he's
you know what I mean? Listen, hey, he's locking himself down against the media. I love. That's my favorite thing. Pow! What do you mean I can't shoot him? I'm not dealing with it. Hey, come on, dog.
Yeah, there you go. Guys, thanks so much for hanging out with us on Locked On NBA. Go check out the Locked On NBA show that corresponds with your favorite team. Locked On Bulls with Pat and Hayes. Locked On Mavs with Isaac and me. Go check it out, guys. Thanks so much for listening to Locked On NBA.
Bye-bye.
Boom.